This is gonna be a very unscripted explanation of how I feel about Sonic Racing Crossworlds, so stick with me if I ramble a bit. I have ADHD. Don't worry about it. When this game got announced, as somebody who's primarily a speedrunner who plays a lot of platformers and is not particularly into a lot of kart racing games, I kind of went, all right, it'll be cool, I guess, and refelt those feelings that I felt when Team Sonic Racing came out, and I felt like I got burned by that game. I hated the way it played. The online was really rough. It felt quite slow and boring. I was kind of expecting more of the same here. This weekend, we just had the ONT, the online network test, effectively a beta for all of Labor Day weekend. I went in with this expectation that I was probably going to hate it or just not really enjoy my time with it, and I'm happy to be wrong. I spent 36 or so hours playing this weekend. I grinded to get to legend rank, and I really got a feeling for what it's going to shape up to be once it fully releases, and I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be so surprised that this game is very solid. Now, let me just say, there are some issues with it that I want to address in this video, but I would like to say that going in expecting it to be complete dog ass and having it be a really enjoyable and engaging experience that was so addicting, this game really surprised me. And I want to talk more about that. So let's do that. We're at a time now where Sonic Racing Crossworlds is competing with not only the gaming market at large, but specifically two other kart racers with Mario Kart World and Kirby Air Riders. You could probably argue that Kirby Air Riders is going to be kind of its own thing. I feel like most people are interested in that game for city trial. They're not necessarily playing it as like a typical kart racer, even though racing is involved, and that's probably what this game would classify as. So more so, I think people would argue that this game is competing directly with Mario Kart World. What I do want to say before saying any of my opinions is that Sonic Racing Crossworlds is not a fully released game, okay? This game is not out yet. These opinions are coming before the actual release, but the beta, I think, gives us a really solid idea as to what the final product might look like, and hopefully there are some things that are adjusted. That being said, I found myself enjoying Sonic Racing Crossworlds more than Mario Kart World. And let me just say, this is coming from somebody who spent an extensive amount of time playing Mario Kart World when it released. I did a few speedruns of it. I even went as far as to get involved with the competitive Mario Kart scene, Mario Kart Lounge, and really tried to improve to get better at it. I love Mario Kart World. I think it has a really good system, especially with the new tricks, and I really like the tracks. Not so much the intermissions, but the tracks. I think that that game is very solid. However, when we're taking Mario Kart World and directly comparing it to Sonic Racing Crossworlds, I'm starting to feel like I might like Sonic Racing Crossworlds more. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what is the thing that Sonic Racing Crossworld does a little bit better? Well, I think the biggest direct comparison is the intermission tracks. I feel like that's like beating a dead horse. We don't have to spend too much time talking about it, but obviously when you're driving in a straight line in Mario Kart World, it feels way less engaging. And it's not even just in the intermissions where you feel like there's not a lot going on. I feel like you could definitely feel that way about certain sections in some tracks. What I mean by that is when you're doing straightaways in Crossworlds, it feels like more is happening. Depending on your playstyle, it feels like you're playing a mini game within the race, building up your drift meter, trying to figure out how you're going to take the next turn. Maybe you wanted to get an item, or maybe you're thinking about taking the shortcut in Metal Harbor where you will save time if you're able to make the turn, but you miss out on the last item set. It's stuff like that that like makes it more interesting in the middle of a race. Crossworlds has this beautiful thing with the Crossworld mechanic where it always feels like something can change up, or like, I'm having trouble wording this, but it feels very stimulating when you have the ability to just go to another track in the middle of the race. Initially, I thought I would hate the Crossworld gimmick in itself. I really thought that playing on 3-lap tracks, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to play 1, 2, 3 laps. You can do that. It sounds like it is possible in time trials, and it sounds like it might be possible maybe online with specific rules. But Crossworlds is trying to stand out and do something different. But the way that it's implemented in Crossworlds, when you go to a different track on lap 2, it really just keeps it interesting because you don't know what track exactly you're going to go to. You don't know if there's going to be a frenzy that gets added in. And if you guys don't know what frenzy does, it basically gives you a random event in one of the Crossworlds, whether it be boost rings, quickly building your drift meter or maybe everybody gets a boost wisp on cooldown. Adding stuff like this into the race adds a bit of flavor. It adds a bit of randomness, but I feel like it adds randomness in a way that doesn't feel too unbalanced. And that's another thing that I want to get into is I really feel that in general, Crossworlds feels like a very balanced experience. During my time playing this event, it didn't feel like there was a specific meta. People could get away with using extreme gear as much as they wanted. You could use speed carts, you could use handling carts. There's a ton of customization, not even just in the different parts you can put on your car, but also cosmetically, you can really fine tune a card or a board to your liking. You can change the color of a lot of different parts, and you can change the finish, add decals. So there's gonna be a lot of personality that exists in this game that a game like Mario Kart World won't be able to achieve. Speaking of customization, we have to talk about the gadget system. The gadget system is really, really well done. I think that they did a really good job at making sets of gadgets that feel useful, and it doesn't feel like there are any that are necessarily too overpowered. I think that this gets balanced really well by having a good cost system. For example, having something like the monster truck gadget, which we can all agree,
you're a head if you use that. But
if it wasn't 3 cost, it could potentially be very broken in a gadget set where you have the ability to swap the item and start with a monster truck. It would be so broken. But also, it would be incredibly broken if it wasn't for the fact that you drop items all the time, which we'll talk about. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. But I think overall, they did a really good job at trying to balance it to where the gadgets that feel really strong are treated as very strong and will take up more slots on your gadget plate. Currently, how I feel is that the gadgets feel balanced, but the game's not out. We don't know how many gadgets are going to be in the game. We don't know what they're going to look like, but if we can go based off of the ones that we're seeing in game, I feel as though it feels fair and balanced. And I also feel like there is something for everybody, to the point where it doesn't feel incredibly lopsided towards one build or one character type. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like in the finished game. Oh, one thing I want to mention too before moving on about the gadget menu is I felt a little bit bad about how it was laid out. It felt very difficult to like see all of my gadgets at one time. I would like to have like some sort of menu where I could see all the gadgets a little better. Of course, I got better at navigating it with time. The fact that I can only see and like scroll through a certain amount of gadgets at a time made it feel a little bit more annoying. I would like it to, apparently I didn't play the last beta, but apparently in the last beta, it was just like a page of all of the gadgets laid out. And admittedly, that does look more boring from the side of like a design standpoint, but it functioned very well. And I would like something a little bit more functional, or at least maybe the ability to like see the gadgets in specific classes more. I don't know. Small adjustment. Now, obviously, I've been talking a lot about the positives of this game, but I'm not trying to glaze it the whole time. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks to this game. Right from the jump, we have to address the fact that the stability was a bit shoddy. We can chalk it up to the point of like, oh, this is a beta test, it's not the full release, like they have time to adjust stuff. That's great. This game comes out in less than a month. I really hope that when this game is officially released, that we're not getting kicked out of lobbies as much as we were during the beta. I don't know the specifics of how the back end of that kind of thing works for a beta, but I'm just saying that if we get kicked out of matches as often as we did, I'm gonna be mad. I think that's fair. I'm gonna be mad. It was really difficult to be in a party with people and stay in a lobby for an extended period of time because there would be so many disconnects. So hopefully that'll be fine. Going along with this idea of the stability, we also have to talk about the desyncs. I'm sure that a lot of you guys experienced a lot of desync during the beta, and I think the only place where you really, really, really notice it is at the finish line. There have been multiple races where myself, I would finish quite clearly in second place. There would be people that would finish ahead of me, and somehow we got the win. And now you can make the argument that it's like, oh, well, like I must have been first place on their screen, yada, yada. But it is so jarring to see that happen so often. I think it happened in like, not just a few races for me, but like, honestly, like quite a decent amount where like I would finish in like top 3, but like where in top 3 I finished, even though there were people that finished ahead of me, I don't know. it makes me worry about like, okay, well then like how does like items hit certain people and stuff like that. So I just hope that that is something that's addressed before the game's released. Now we have to talk about the items. I think a lot of you guys were pretty upset with how items worked during the beta. I think the item pool that exists is a little too strong. For example, we have too many items that can lock on, bro. Why do we got the green glove locking on to things? Like, I feel like that is supposed to be like the green shell item. But the fact that there's the green boxing glove, the red boxing glove, and you can pull, I believe, triples of each of those items. And we have the saw blade. It's just too many things. It's too many things that lock on. Not to mention the fact that you can get locked on and then hit by these items, and you can lose the items that you're currently holding, which is another thing that's really frustrating. Of course, there is a gadget that allows you to not drop your items, but it's too cost. It's a really tough one to want to put onto your plate because it just costs way too much when there's other more useful gadgets to be using. So you could agree in a way that that makes it kind of balanced, but I think that there should be a way to escape these items if you have a boost or, you know, something else that you can like. I mean, I obviously know that you can throw things at the boxing gloves, for example. Like you can throw a magnet at the boxing gloves. You can throw a spike ball at them. You can throw boxing gloves just the same, just backwards. But it feels like there's too many things that can lock onto you. I would like literally just the green glove to not lock on, and I think it would solve a lot of problems. I think especially for the ending of races, it feels as though if you don't have a defensive item when you're at the front, there's almost no way to win because there's quite clearly item sets that they can just pull a green glove and lock onto you from forever away. It might not be the best item, but it almost feels like you're meant to sit in around the range of like 5th to 3rd leading into like the final stretch to be able to win. And I don't know exactly the best way to tune that, but it felt a little too, like there was too many times where like it was too easy to lose. And I know the argument here will be there is a gadget that allows you to pull defensive items more. I believe it's 2 cost, but the problem with pulling defensive items more is unless you're front running the entire time, it becomes way less useful to have defensive items all the time. Like let's say, for example, you got hit by a million things because you weren't able to, like, you missed a capsule and you got hit by a saw blade in 8th place, which happens all the time. You'll get sent to the back. Next thing you know, it's more likely for you to pull defensive items. Like, what's that going to do for you? What am I going to do with a shield in 12th place? You know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that. It's like they did a good job, I feel like, of balancing stuff, but at the same time, it feels just like items are still too powerful. And I think another example that I heard that would be good to patch would be making it so that you could use a boost wisp to escape a saw blade. I think that would be great. But just a little bit of fine tuning there. I don't even think it's that bad. It's just that like it leads to quite often situations where you're put in unfair scenarios. What's the outplay here? I didn't pull a shield. I guess I just lose. Obviously, it's an arcadey kart racer. We're not going to make it 100% consistent, competitive, and then still keep it fun and goofy and like, you know, if we just cut back on some of those variables with the item pool, then I think that it would feel a lot more cozy or a lot more fair. Fair is the word I'm looking for. A lot more fair. Speaking of items, we can talk about the boost wisp. I feel like the boost wisp needs a buff. I think it's a bit too weak. The only time where it feels useful to have the boost wisp and even the triple boost wisp is for the shortcuts in the off-roads that exist in certain tracks. Now, let's think about Metal Harbor for a second. That feels like a track where there is no ideal place to use a boost in order to get ahead. It feels like the boost is a useless item on Metal Harbor. And, you know, you could argue that like, okay, well, that might be a design flaw for Metal Harbor. Maybe it needs to have more like off-road shortcuts to where like it makes Boost Wisp feel more useful. But I've definitely had it before where like I've used a Boost Wisp and I'm just basically like a neck and neck with another racer. Now, that might not be completely true. It's just, anecdotal. It's like, I don't know exactly how much the Boost Wisp increases your speed. I have not tried to like pull the numbers from the game or anything like that. But I think that if the Boost Wisp made you slightly more faster than it currently does, it would be fair. That being said, again, I think that the Boost Wisp being able to escape the saw blade would also be a really good buff for it. That makes it so that there is another item to where you can dodge the saw blade, but I think it's okay. Doing that plus getting rid of the green lock-on, I think would hopefully balance it in a way where it makes sense. Let me know what you guys think down below. How would you guys balance the items? What would you do to change it? Because this is my best guess of like things that could work well. The music. Oh, the music. How do I say this? It's okay. I would say that there's a few tracks that I really like, but the mixing on the overall music is quite tough. Some people would go as far as saying it sounds awful, but I'm not one of those people. I think that I find myself being a bit less critical of the music. I know we're dealing with Sonic here, so we're very used to like 10 out of 10 soundtracks basically all the time. But like, I feel like it's just very like acceptable. They're okay. I hope they fix the mixing though. Like for example, in Water Palace, it sounds like really echoey, you know? And it's hard with like the way that all the sound effects play. It just like it's just hard. It's just hard to have the clarity, you know? Like, it just doesn't sound as good as I feel like it could. And I'm no audio engineer. I can't say how they should adjust it. If there's so many people saying how bad it is, I feel like they just need to have somebody come in and, like, maybe doctor it up or something. Don't ask me. I'm not the guy. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed in, too, is it sounds like we're not going to get a lot of voice lines for the DLC characters, which I was feeling okay about until I realized that they're also not having dialogue for Joker, for example, who is a Sega/Atlas-owned character. And that felt a little bit weird to me. Like, I understand that they had said something along the lines of like, oh, they don't want to like go through the trouble of getting the people to come in and record the rival dialogue or whatever, but low-key I understand it's probably a cost thing. Like, bro, they're gonna break the bank paying for Tom Kenny to come in and do voice lines for SpongeBob. That shit's gonna cost more than it costs to make the game. So like, we get it. Like, to a degree, we get it. But Joker's your guy, bro. It doesn't sound like every non-Sonic character isn't going to have voice lines, but like, wow. I've spent a lot of time talking about a little bit of the specific things. I think that Sonic Racing Crossworlds drives really well. It's going to be really fun to play this game when it comes out. I could see myself losing myself for hours and hours and hours trying to grind the ranked, maybe even do time trials, maybe a couple of speedruns, even though kart racing speedruns are not really my forte. It just seems like it would be a fun game to spend a lot of time on, and something about the beta just had me coming back for more all the time. Oh, let's talk about the festival mode. The festival mode was actually really cool. I didn't like the idea that I could only play festival during one of the days of the beta. It would have been nice to be able to do festival plus the other race mode that they had, but I understand why they did it. I think they mostly did it just so that they could encourage people to try the festival mode, because admittedly, I don't know if I would have played it as much if it wasn't for that. But another thing that they made really good about the festival mode is you get to unlock decals and nameplates and stuff for the game. Like, that was awesome. I really liked that. I thought it was fun to try the different team modes. I didn't play with a full team. I played with my friend Donisar, and we were crushing. We went on a crazy win streak, got all of the rewards, and then kind of like moved on. I honestly didn't play that much that day because my hands were hurting from doing so much snaking. So is this the Mario Kart World killer? We'll have to see. But you want to know how I'm feeling right now? I would say that it could. It really could. And I think another thing it has going for, Crossworlds has going for it, is that it seems pretty open to giving more characters, more tracks as its life goes on. And I think we will see that eventually with Mario Kart World, but it just feels like I'm gonna be more engaged in the Crossworlds culture, I guess I want to say. Culture, or just like how things develop with new characters and stuff. Like, feels like they made a very fun arcade game mixed in with a bunch of live service ideas. And I think that it's going to play out to be something that is more that I'm going to want to it's going to be something that I want to come back to more than I would for any of the other kart racers. Like, we're going to have our fun with Mario Kart World, or some of us have already had our fun with it. We're kind of done with that, but we're probably going to have our fun with Kirby Air Riders. I think that game is going to be amazing. It looks like a great fun time. But I think that Crossworlds will do a better job at holding that interest, which I feel like is so valuable in this day and age with games. It feels like there are so many good games coming out all the time that it's very easy to just be like, oh, let's move on to the next one. It's cool to have a Sonic game that we can all play together that feels like it's going to be good. I just really hope they improve on the stability. I hope they improve the items, some of the bugs that the game had. But I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Crossworlds. I'll be playing it at the full release. We'll probably be making some videos about it on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. I'm excited for this game, man. It's gonna be fun. I'll probably be playing with a lot of you guys on my Twitch stream. If you guys want to see me do that, I'll probably be trying to hit Legend again. Maybe we'll try to grind for Legend 1. I believe Legend 1 will be the top rank in the game, and that's gonna take us a lot of time, but hey, we'll do our best. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Subscribe.